Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope that whenever and wherever you are, when you hear this particular recording, that you are living your best truth and you've forgiven yourself for all of the mistakes you've made in the past, and that you are forgiving others for the mistakes they made against you. And if they haven't forgiven you, that's really on them. You can only do what you can do. You know, if you did something that wasn't in their best interest or your best interest, and you've already apologized and you thought you've already made up for it, and then they come to you years later with the same information saying you didn't do X, Y, and Z back then, there's really nothing you can do, right? You know, do you accept being attacked over and over and over again, or do you accept that this person hasn't let go and this person's still hurting? The best thing I think you can do is apologize quietly again, you know, another time, and just say, hey, I'm sorry that happened and I love you, and that's it. And then just send them energy and love. But it's important always to forgive yourself for your own past mistakes and to forgive others for the things that they've done. You know, we're all human here, and it's really hard to get through this life without hurting people. You try your best, and then, well, you know, stuff happens. You know, and there's really not a whole lot you can do about it. There's a lot of negativity still, you know, in little pockets here and there in the world, but for the most part, it is fixing itself. The course is being corrected and things are changing, but it's very possible that a lot of the negativity is coming from the people who are keeping themselves in the negativity, and they keep themselves in hell. And if this is you and you're one of the people keeping yourself in hell, it's time to let yourself free. The door to hell is always open. You can always walk out. You could get up, unleash yourself from the pain of it all, and just walk out. So I hope that you are figuring out how to do that. And if you don't know how, ask for your higher guidance to help you with it. Ask your spiritual team, your holy guardian angel, your higher self, and also Archangel Raphael. And if this instance has something to do with family, then ask, maybe there's a family angel we all have. Now that I thought of it, hey, maybe it's true. Ask for the family angel to help. Ask for your holy guardian angel to help. Ask for Archangel Raphael to smooth over any ruffled feathers, or worse, to clear up any old emotional scars and wounds. Sometimes a wound is healing and it's leaving a scar. And sometimes people open the scars and then go back to the wound again. And there's not really any reason to do that except to keep yourself in hell. So just look upon people that are suffering with pain with compassion and send them healing energy. And if the reason they're hurting is because something that you did, just apologize and then pray for them, because there's not really much else you can do. After you've done your part, there's not a whole lot left. So there's that. Sarah O'Brien on Why So Serious 24D YouTube channel mentioned yesterday that we did have some massive flares that have come through. It sparked a 5.8 earthquake in Pakistan right after we had a 5.8 M-class solar flare hit the Earth. Funny, it's the same number. And she also said there was a maybe she didn't say 5.8, she did say 5.1 and a 6.5. And I thought I heard a 5.8, so maybe I might be mistaken on that. Actually, don't quote me on that, because I think I might have just gotten that one off. I think it was 5.1, she said. But anyway, we have been bombarded a lot lately by a ton of flares, solar flares, and solar winds. And I had a feeling it was happening. I hadn't looked it up yesterday. So when I mentioned it yesterday, it's funny that I felt it. But she did mention that she saw some pure white light coming in that was blasting the earth. And when she looked, it was literally coming in through the earth at 1.5 million miles per hour. It would account for a lot. I mean, since yesterday, I've been having these massive cosmic naps. Last night, when I went to take a quick break because I was feeling kind of tired, I slept for 90 minutes. Like I couldn't get up for nothing. I set my alarm for 15 minutes thinking I was going to take a quick cat nap, and that ended up being 90 minutes of snoozing every 10 minutes, my alarm on my phone. So I would have had my show out like 2 hours early yesterday instead of a half hour late. If it hadn't been for this massive power blasting cosmic nap, and that's been happening a lot. So I don't know, it's kind of crazy. Yesterday, right after I finished and published the show, I thought I was going to go right to sleep, and I thought, well, I'm kind of still a little bit awake, and I wanted to just decompress a little bit and contemplate some of the things that were said on the show, like some of the things that I read in the book that I read yesterday. And I was thinking about it, and I like to have TV on or something as a background and just sit here and think. And so I did that. And I got on this website where you just go and just talk to people randomly and make new friends. And I've met probably 6 or 7 people in person from this website over the past 12 years. Not a whole lot, but I met someone last night, and turns out he lives right here in Cuenca where I live in Ecuador, and he also is very, very spiritual and speaks English. And I'm like, wow, that's so awesome. He didn't want to talk about boring things like, what did you eat for breakfast? I've had so many boring conversations with people like that. What do you do? Oh, good. You have your own radio show. Well, what do you eat for breakfast? Like, what? Really? That's your follow-up question to, I have a radio show? Not, what's the topic? I've had so many boring conversations with people online that I just felt like I'm never going to meet anybody. I'm never going to go out and meet anyone in person here. I just don't have time for really super boring conversations with people that are still completely asleep. I just don't have time. There's not enough hours in the day because I'm spending so much time just meditating and focused on spiritual stuff and holding the light and consciously holding the light so that more and more can wake up. And also doing my show every day, and then also being a mom and all the things that come along with my life. I just don't have time to go out and meet people for lunch to have really super boring conversations. I just don't. I just can't, And, someone's showing me the most boring possible conversation over and over and over again. I can't imagine it's going to be better in person, and it's just, to me, that'd be like, just shoot me now. I don't want to even go out to eat. Even if you're going to pay for me to eat or whatever, it's like, just, I would rather just not even, just shoot me now, It's horrible, but it's kind of how I feel. Like I'm too deep a person to have that really super boring, inane conversation that I have with literally every single person when I leave the house here. Any person I talk to outside of my home, usually it's those same conversations. Are you married? Where's your husband? What did he die from? Oh, well, do you have any kids? Are they with you? What are their ages? It's the exact conversation. Like, I could probably take a recording device and record the conversation and just play it for anybody who starts that conversation with me. It would literally be word per word. I have a friend from India who lives in Guayaquil, and he has an almost similar conversation, but his conversation is always, wow, you're tall. You're so tall. How tall are you? And wow, you have really big feet. What size are your shoes? That's the exact conversation he has had over 150 times in the past 2 years. And he told me he just wants to die. He's just like, I am freaking in hell. The people here have this, they have one conversation and that's it. And I don't know if I get the conversation for women and he gets a conversation for men or what it is, but it's not always that way. But it seems like it's 95% of the time you're going to have the same flippant conversation, right? So I got on this website last night and I thought, well, I do have a few good friends from Detroit I keep in touch with over this website called Tagged. So I'm like, all right, I'll go and see if anyone wrote me, any of my longtime friends. I've got a friend in Guatemala I've been talking to for like 10 years. I have a lot of people on there that I've been talking to for a long time. So I go there and this guy is like talking about spiritual stuff. And he's like, I have literally no friends here. He's like, I was born here, raised here. I'm Ecuadorian. I speak English, obviously pretty okay. And he's like, he kept apologizing for his English, which was near perfect. And I'm like, no, you're great. But anyway, but he just said that he has this like deep side to him that he can't ever tell anybody about, ever. And I'm like, good, thank God, finally I could find someone who's spiritual like me and can have a conversation that I want, right? Because it's like so hard. Like there's one person I can talk to about the deep stuff, and that's my friend Jordan, and he just got married last year. And so he's always with his wife, and she's not 100% into the spiritual stuff and the deep stuff. And sometimes, we'll all get together and then, he and I will go off to the side and just have our deep conversations. And then she joins us, but she's not really interested a whole lot. It doesn't seem to me anyway. Like she never really brings it up or whatever, but she's very sweet, very loving, and she's supportive. Listens to the show once in a while, but I don't think she's interested in it that much. I get the feeling that she's just like, well, I don't know. But so he was just telling me this new person, his name is Nikolai, and he's like, I am just floored that I finally met somebody. He's like, I've been so lonely and so sad, and I've been sad for weeks because I have no one to talk to about this stuff. And I'm like, well, I've been praying that I would meet somebody locally that I could talk to about this stuff and go out and hang out and do stuff with, And so he's like, let's go on, trips, and we'll go out of town. We'll take the bus together everywhere. And he does that for a living. He does visas for gringos. I'm like, oh my God, where were you 2 years ago? And I told him I got mine on my own. And he said, it's really hard, isn't it? I'm like, oh my God, it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Giving birth and burying my father and getting a visa in Ecuador, top worst things ever. The top 3. Could expand the list. Getting a divorce from my one true love, that would have been in the top 5 things, basically. Hardest things ever. Putting my oldest son on a plane to California, thinking that I might not ever see him again. Because you never know what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to him, what's going to happen. Now, as a whole continent separating us, that was, those are literally the top 5 hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. But, so I met this person. We stayed up until 6 a.m. Again with the, I want to get to bed on time, I want to go to bed early. And yet one more thing happened. One more thing, but it was cool. It was a good thing. And I'm happy. It's like, oh yeah, finally. Finally I met someone who's interested in this kind of stuff. This lady and her husband I met a couple weeks ago now. They haven't even gotten back to me. They haven't done anything. They haven't written me or anything. So I don't know if they're even listening to the show. I gave them the show information. And I thought, well, that'd be cool. It'd be nice to get to know people that I can talk to about the spiritual things. And then they just they were there and then disappeared. And it's like, I don't know. It's hard. I know a lot of you guys are going through the same thing, with the not being able to meet up with people or talk to people about the deeper things, I mean, when people want to talk about like who's dating who in Hollywood or the latest fashion or a book that just came on the market it's sold in every grocery store. Like it's just like a normal novel or something. It's hard. It's hard to always relate to that, How about them Cowboys? What are they doing now, or your favorite sports team or whatever. It's like, it's just so hard. But at least if you live in the United States, you can go to meetup.org. Actually, I can look it up. It might be .com. Let me look it up really quick. But Meetup is a wonderful place. I'm going to just look up Meetup, period, and see what comes up, if it's .org or .com. But it is a wonderful place online. You can go and you can find literally any kind of group. If you live in a metropolitan area or near a big city, I mean, I found a Wiccan polyamorous group in Sacramento once. I looked up magic group to see if there's anyone performing magic or anyone that does anything like that, and literally a Wiccan polyamorous group came up. I'm like, what the hell? So I looked at their description, and it was just like a group of people that all apparently just sleep together or sleep with each other. I'm like, that is such a strange and skewed, it's like a subgroup of a subgroup of a subgroup type of thing. But you could also find just, things that are a lot more mainstream, like groups that go out hiking, groups that want to learn how to speak Spanish, groups that want to learn how to speak Arabic and learn about all the Arabic cultures. I used to be a part of a Yala Arabi group in Oakland, in San Francisco. They were in the Bay Area, and it was super fun. I mean, sometimes they get together and do, the event I went to was like we watched a movie and ate Arabic food in this lady's house, and her son-in-law is from Yemen, and so she wanted to learn everything she could about various Arabic cultures. She got very interested in that because of her son-in-law. So, okay, let's see. It's meetup.com. It just came up, so it's a .com. But, I mean, I looked here in where I live, and the only meetup group is a group that hasn't been active in a year, and they get together and do some kind of, I think it's called Python, which is, I don't even know what has something to do with computers. And then there was another one that said hackers group, and they also hadn't been active in like a year. So like for here, there's like no groups like at all. But in in Detroit, I was a part of an art group. I was part of a science nerd group. And I got invited to an ugly Christmas sweater party, and my kids and I we're all gonna get our Christmas sweaters together. I think we ended up getting sick or something. One of us, I think my youngest got sick. Might have been me. I can't remember now what happened, but one of us got sick, and then we all just said, well, no, we have to stay home. We're not gonna leave one person at home alone. So, but there's all kinds of stuff. So if you are looking for a spiritual group, just look up, if you're into yoga, look up, meditation, look up whatever it is that you're into. Look up the thing you're into in your area. And chances are you're going to find it or something kind of similar or kind of close. If you start your own group, which is free, you can also probably draw people to yourself. Because I know how it gets. I mean, the loneliness of not being able to talk about this is completely insane. It's like you just feel so freaking lost. Like if you felt like an alien before, the more and more and more you wake up to the spiritual truths, the more like an alien you're going to feel. So, and it pretty much bites. When my husband and I were together for like almost 13 years, but during that time, it was hard for us to find anyone interested in the things we were interested in. But together we could talk about it, and that helped. It was super helpful. And, we thought we were going to raise our kids to believe this stuff, and we tried. And for the most part, our kids do have some of the beliefs, but they're not obviously the same, as what we had. Your kids are always going to have their own ideas and opinions and believe what they want. So they don't 100% believe the stuff I'm saying on my show, but they're for the most part open-minded, and so it's pretty cool. So it's hard, even in your own family, even if you try to raise your own children to believe the same as you, so at least you have someone to talk to you about it. That's not always going to follow, that they're going to actually go with it. My parents tried to raise me as a Christian, and I stopped being a Christian the day I turned 18. I'm like, forgot it. It doesn't mean that I don't believe in Jesus or whatever. Of course, Jesus was an awesome dude. Yeshua, Mother Mary, all that. I love them, but the religion itself, I'm not interested in organized religion. It's not interesting to me, so I just stopped, as soon as I possibly could. Anyway, I'm going to get to the Schumann resonance news. The first and only report for today is a 1700 report out of Italy from disclosurenews.it, and they say, today's graphs show a sequence of isolated peaks of ever-increasing magnitude starting from 15 and ending at a maximum of 43 hertz at 1245. This stronger peak occurred within a more intense period of activity from 1245 to 14 UTC, with various peaks around 40 hertz. So, suffice to say, the highest frequency in the Schumann resonance out of Italy was 43 today. Now, when we go to heartmath.org, we start with California. And on the Schumann resonance scale today, they start off at 25 only, very low. It's been a lot higher than that recently. So 25 hertz frequency at midnight, and they went down to 0 by 4 a.m. Another round of zeros. All right, cool. Now in Hofuf, Saudi Arabia, they started off at 8 at 4 in the morning. And I mean, not at 4 in the morning, at midnight, and then by 4 in the morning, they went down to 0. So they started off at 8 and went down to 0. Weird. Okay, so Lithuania started off at 133 hertz frequency and went up to 134 by 4. And 33, there we go with the master number again. That's interesting to note. And here we go again with another one in Alberta, Canada. They started off at 222 hertz frequency, speaking of master numbers and angel numbers, and they went to 223 by 4 a.m. And in Northland, New Zealand, they were at 117 hertz frequency at midnight and only went up to 118 by 4 a.m. Now, in Hulului, South Africa, they started off at 126 hertz frequency and went up to 133 hertz frequency by 4 a.m. Remember 133 a minute ago, I just said that. So that's interesting, isn't it? Okay, so 133 is where Hulului ended. All right, now I want to ask my higher guidance. I'd like to be connected. Let's see. All right. I'm going to the A Course in Miracles.org for tonight's lesson, and it's the third review. So I have to go to the next page and see what's going on. It just has the introduction on how to review the review. So if you are following these, you might want to go and read the whole thing yourself. But I'm just going to read a couple thoughts from lesson 111. But first I'm going to ask, and by the way, here's another one. We had 222, now we have 111 as angel numbers. So I'd like to be connected to my higher guidance. Am I connected? Yes. Muscle testing says yes. Are we below 99 on the Ascension symptom scale? The answer is no. Are we at 100? The answer is no. We're not there yet. 99. We're still at 99 on the Ascension symptom scale today, according to muscle testing. All right, lesson 111. Again, this might be an angel number for you guys. The ideas are miracles are seen in light from lesson 91. From lesson 92, miracles are seen in light and light and strength are one. Miracles are seen in light and light and strength are one. I cannot see in darkness. Let the light of holiness and truth light up my mind and let me see the innocence within. I see through strength the gift of God to me. My weakness is the dark his gift dispels by giving me his strength to take its place. Well, there it is. And then tomorrow, go to the next reveal. So, pretty interesting stuff, right? I mean, especially, I don't know, that solar flare hitting us at 1.5 million miles an hour yesterday during the new moon. And Sarah O'Brien said her quantum vision, she was able to see it just as a solid wall of bright white light. It was just, we're bombarded and blasted. It was a huge, just wall of white light. And then after that, we had a rainbow energy, a rainbow light come through with all the colors. So that was interesting. I had a very interesting afternoon and evening. It was thundering and lightning like crazy. I mean, for like 2 hours. And we had, it was beautiful energy, though, really incredible energy. We had, the sky was, the normal shades of blues and grays and whites, and, the clouds are just normal. And then all of a sudden I looked, and then some of them were peach. And the peach clouds were light and fluffy with the background, or kind of almost like they looked almost like lace. Not fluffy, so like light and airy. And they were against these dark, huge, dark gray thunderclouds. And it was incredible. I'm going to try to put it up tonight. If I remember, I'll try to put these pictures up on Instagram. But I mean, incredible. Like peach, and then it was pink. And then it was that vermilion red again that I've been seeing. And the clouds looked so bizarre. They were just like, part of the sky was absolutely baby blue and sunny with little birds flying through and puffy white clouds. And then the other half of the sky, the clouds were almost black with these wispy orange peach colors in front of them. I mean, it was incredible. I can't believe the sky. I can't believe the sky here. It is an incredible sky. And every single day, obviously, it's different like everywhere else. But I got these, I took a video. One of the videos, I got the lightning in the background. You could see it clearly. But it started getting closer and closer, the lightning and the thunder. And it was really incredible, shaking the windows, booming, incredible. And my son was out at his friend's house. He got caught in the storm. He came home and he was absolutely soaked to the bone. Like, his hat was soaking wet, his shoes. I mean, I guess he had dropped his cell phone while he was walking. And his cell phone was all in pieces. So I just poured a bowl of rice, put the cell phone in to dry out all the components. I don't know if you guys knew that. If you ever drop your phone, I'm not going to say in the toilet, but in water, or it gets wet or something, just plunge it into a bowl of rice. And that will take the moisture right out of your phone. And like an hour later, he was able to put it back together and text, and everything was cool. It's like, okay, yay for rice. But, yeah, it was like a really incredible day. We were both like so excited about the energy of it. Like, it was powerful, powerful. I connected to my 12 chakras during the storm. Then I connected to the storm, and I was able to absorb a lot of the energy of it. It was really good energy. It was like a washing away, cleansing, deep cleansing energy. And we have this kind of rain every now and again for about 6 months a year. And then we have just a little bit of drizzly rain. We have rain almost every day here in Ecuador, but usually it's maybe 5 or 10 minutes at night, hardly anything. Usually it's always at night, to be honest. It's hardly in the day. In the afternoons it rains, in the mornings it's not. Usually it's sunny and nice in the morning, but yeah, I don't know. That energy was incredible. I couldn't believe it. I was supposed to go meet my new friend for lunch, and he was like, I feel really weird today. I'm like, I don't think it's a good day. I just feel like energetically we've got to do whatever we need to do to just stay home, relax, and get through it. And I was right. He was in pain later. He said he couldn't move. His back was stiff. He wasn't feeling good. I'm like, yeah, this energy, we're being told to stay home. You know, I don't know what it's like in the U.S. if you guys are going through similar things where you just have this energy, if the cosmic energy is reaching you and you're like, no, you got to give yourself space and grace during the ascension time. That's what we're going through. It's just every day, you know, is a new challenge, physically or health-wise or emotional or mentally. You know, every day is a new challenge. So you just got to relax a little and get yourself through it. Anyway, when I come back, I'm going to go over Nichiren Buddhism, because when I first came across this, I told you guys, I was freaked out. And I'm going to tell you about my experiences and why I turned away from it right away, because I was like, dude, this is too weird. But I'm going to tell you what it means, what all the things have to do with it. I'm not going to, you know, condone being a part of the actual movement of this, because I still kind of feel like it's cult-like in nature. But now that I've read up on it, I'm going to read right from their website to you, because I want you guys to understand a little bit more about it. Just because, you know what if this is your path? I don't want to keep you from it, right? And I don't want to judge it as harshly as I did when I was 19 years old and freaking out by it. I was like maybe 19 or 20 when I first heard about it. And I was like, dude, this is too weird. I was too freaked out. But when I was 21, I was easily freaked out by things. So I'm going to come right back and tell you that story. And then we're going to go into what exactly is a Myoho Renge Kyo Buddhism. What is Nichiren Buddhism? Right after this message. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you. All right, guys, so I'm going to tell you how I was first introduced to this form of Buddhism. And we're talking about Nichiren Buddhism, the chanting Buddhism. I was tutoring human anatomy for an anatomy class. I had gotten an A the previous semester or year. And I ended up tutoring this for a while. I mean, I made good money as a tutor. And I would tutor on cadavers and also skeletons. And sometimes I take study groups to like Denny's and help people learn from their book directly. But usually I was in the lab. And this lady came into one of the classes, and at first she was a little bit kind of dismissive and rude. I was just standing there, and she was asking her friend something, and her friend didn't know, and so I stepped in and said, well, that's, whatever, that's what that is. Told her whatever. I don't know if it was like cranial nerves or bones. I don't know what we're talking about at that moment, but she kind of was dismissive and a little bit rude, and then I was like, you don't have to learn from me, but the teacher is busy with everybody else. And I've already gotten an A in this class. If you want to listen, I can help you through it, and I know some secrets and tricks. And she's all, oh, so you're not in my class? And I'm like, no, I'm like the student teacher or whatever. I'm just trying to put myself through school, through college by tutoring. It's what I do. And so she stopped being kind of dismissive and rude, and we started talking, and then she invited me out to lunch, and then we would go and have study sessions during our lunch break. And, for my doing this outside of school, every now and again, the teacher would give me money, here's an extra 20, or hey, let me buy you lunch today, So I always was compensated one way or the other. And sometimes people would also pay me extra for extra tutoring. And she decided, I want you to be my tutor. Because now that I've gotten to know you, and I'm sorry I was judging you, but now that I've gotten to know you, I really like you. And I'm like, okay, fine. So our friendship was an extremely rocky start. But I ended up going to her house, her apartment, and I ended up there a couple times a week for like a month or something. And she said, one time we got home and she picked me up or something and took me to her apartment instead of my just driving myself there. And then she was going to take me afterwards. She said, you said you were into spiritual things. I'm going to take you to the spiritual gathering and then I'll take you home. I'm like, fine. So she picks me up at my house. We go to her house and she's like, oh, I have something to do. And I think she made me like wait outside. It was very weird, And she had this little altar, which was just like hardly anything. It was just like a wooden case, and she opened up the case and she had like a little piece of paper inside it, and she says, I'm going to just chant for a while. And I think she made me go outside. I think she was too uncomfortable or embarrassed, and she didn't want me to know. And she said, I'll show you later, but right now, no. And so I didn't know what the hell's going on. I'm like, okay, fine. So I waited outside. I'm just like, whatever. Too bad back then we didn't have cell phones. I couldn't call anyone. I was bored out of my mind. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And I tutored her for like an hour or half hour or something. And then we get in the car, and she started going off on lesbos. She kept saying the lesbos this and the lesbos that. And it was just like really bizarre. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. Like, why are you bringing that up to me? and I was getting really upset, again, with her judgmental nature, like the whole thing that she did before, right? But for a whole nother thing. And I was getting kind of irritated. And this has nothing to do with the Buddhism. It had nothing to do with it, but it's just, this is a person that introduced me to. So you can see where I'm getting, where I got a little weirded out by the whole thing. I'm like, are they teaching her to be, like judgmental? Is this the kind of person this thing attracts? It was like really weird. I was young. I was maybe around 20, 21, something like that. I wasn't very old when I was introduced to this. And this was the woman who was, responsible for me even knowing about this thing. So we get to where we're going in this beautiful, big, beautiful house. And she said, yeah, I want to show you, this is Buddhism. I'm like, okay, cool. That sounds awesome. I definitely want to learn about Buddhism, because I had just made a couple phone calls about Buddhism. I looked in the phone book, and there was like Buddhist centers or whatever. And I left a message for one. They never called me back. I talked to a guy from another like Buddhist monastery or something. And I said, well, I'm interested in learning more about Buddhism. I don't know anything about it. And I'm very interested in learning about all the world's religions, right? And even though at that time I was myself also very judgmental of most things, okay? So I was trying to get out of that. I was trying to stop. I was trying to learn more about the world and be less judgmental, as it's just in my nature to also be judgmental, which is probably why, obviously, like attracts like, and I attracted this woman in my life at the time. So, we were, I had like a week before we had been introduced to this thing, I had called this guy, and he was like, you're not allowed in here. You have to know about Buddhism before you come. You have to like take the training. And I'm like, well, how do I take the training if I can't come there for the training? Right? That's like a Buddhist place. And he was very rude and judgmental. And I'm like, well, if you're going to be rude and judgmental, then obviously I'm not going to even be interested in Buddhism, because this is seemingly what it's attracting, or it's seemingly what you're being taught by Buddhism is to be rude to people, So I was like really put off by it. I was like, well, screw that, whatever. I don't need to look into that one then, So then when I met her, and she was like friendly enough, but also very judgmental and rude again. And I'm like, what the hell? But, I was like, okay, I'm just going to let go, because, I could be judgmental and rude, so whatever. I wasn't even that rude back then. I'm more rude now than I was then. But so she brings me to this place, and we walk in the living room, or walk in the foyer part, which is like a dining area, and then there was like a living room area next to that. And so she motioned for me to sit down, and next to, like in the bigger room that was like the living room, it was made into like a place of worship. It looked like a little chapel, and it's just inside this person's home. And all these people walked in, and they all sat down like on these pillows, and there's like a sheet and then pillows, and they all sat down on that. And then all of a sudden the chanting started. Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 over and over and over. And at first it was like, Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho Renge Kyo. And then by the end is Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho Renge Kyo. It's like so fast. I couldn't even do it. I couldn't keep up. And I know what the hell they were saying. And I was freaked out. I was like, what the hell is this? And they were like bowing to this elaborate altar, which was like incredibly it was almost 5 feet tall. It was like massive gold, and there was like tapestries. It was incredibly and strangely this massive. It was almost atrocious at how much gold was there, and I think it was real gold, and at least that was my impression. And it might have just been brass. Who knows? I was really young. I was naive, and I'm like, oh my God, that's gold. What the hell? And so the Buddhist practice stopped, and they served a vegetarian meal. And I think it might have even been vegan. and they had like a bunch of snacks, and everyone was standing around, and people brought money up to the lady whose house it was and just handed her money. And I'm like, this is really strange. Okay, so there's like all this money exchanging hands, there's all this gold, and they can't afford meat. I mean, part of me was like, what the hell? Like, I didn't know much about vegetarianism. But I'm like, okay, fine. That's what they want. This is their religion. Okay, fine. I want to know more. So I started asking more and more questions about this. And they said, well, you have to bring somebody. I'm like, well, what do you mean? You have to bring somebody. Well, all right. You have to bring your friend to see, what they think about this before you get involved or whatever. And they kind of made an excuse. I'm like, well, I'll bring my boyfriend next week. We'll come, next week. You'll be fine. And they're like, well, this is a Buddhist practice, and we're going to, teach you how to say it. And they wrote it down. And I think they might have given me a pamphlet of some sort just talking about how to chant. And then I'm like, well, what does this do for you? I mean, this is the whole religion. You get together and you chant together. And they're like, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm like, all right, so what does it mean? Does it mean Americans are suckers and we're taking your money? What does this mean? I have no idea, How do I know what that means? I don't speak, wait a minute, is this Chinese, Japanese? What is this? I don't even know what language this is, right? I was really confused by it. And they said, well, no, it doesn't mean anything mean or bad. It's really good. And it's actually to help you, achieve your own true Buddha nature. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means, explain. And they're like, well, just trust me, it's a good thing. And then everyone started going into their stories. I was broke and didn't have any money. I started chanting and now I have a car. I was broke and didn't have any money and I wanted to get into my nursing degree. And I chanted, and I had been turned down for nursing school. And then I chanted and I got into nursing school. I chanted and I got a good grade on a test. I chanted and I bought this house, and I was almost homeless. I was living at a friend's house. Now I own this house. It's $500,000 and I own it. See that car out there, see the BMW? Well, I chanted for that car. And someone else is like, yeah, I chanted for my car too. I'm like, okay, so this is spiritual materialism Buddhism? And they're like, well, you chant for anything, but usually people chant for material items because that's what we don't have. I'm like, okay, this is really strange, but intriguing. So how do you say that again? Let me write down the words. How do we pronounce these again? So they told me. So I'm like, and they said, go home and chant every day. Try to chant 15 minutes at night, 15 minutes in the morning, and we'll see where you go with it. I'm like, okay, fine. And so I chanted a little bit here and there, and I was embarrassed because I lived in my boyfriend and I lived together in the basement of where his sister and her husband lived. And even though she was open-minded-ish, she was also judgmental. Another person who's judgmental that I attracted myself because of who I was. But I didn't quite put all that together yet. I didn't really 100% put that together. And so, in fact, now looking back, I'm putting it together a little bit more as I speak to you guys right now. So I'm like, okay, so I told him about this thing. He had a night off. And so we went to the Buddhist thing again at the same house. And this time he drove us there, and I had the address. And we walk in, and now there's even more people. There's even more people. It's like double the people than from the first time. And we walked in, and someone kind of gave us a dirty look, another judgmental look, sat us down, pointed us to sit down, and then someone else gave them a dirty look and told us to go into the room now, the worshiping room, whatever, right? And I'm like, okay. And so they put us in the back of the room, and they started, and I taught him the chant, so we started, Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho Renge Kyo, and then all of a sudden they stepped it up, and all of a sudden it's Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho Renge Kyo, and it was just on and on, right? And then all of a sudden it's like Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho. It's like so fast I can't even do it. How fast? Even now, it was so fast. I'm like, what the hell is happening right now, right? And we just kind of started moving our lips like, we just don't even know what to do at this point. Like, we just act like we're shivering and, It was so fast. And And then they all bowed, and we were like looking at each other like, okay, I guess we bow now. This is weird. You know, this like elaborate gold altar thing. I still don't know what the hell's going on. And again, like super naive. I don't know anything, right? So we, again, were offered snacks and beverages, and then they kind of made it like, oh, for you, it's over here. And so the better food, the better beverages were suddenly off limits to us because we weren't 100% part of the group. So that's for the people who came and chanted hard and gave their money to the hostess, again with the money exchanging thing. And then afterwards, you know, we had like, I think had a rice cake or something. It was like, again, vegan, I think, or vegetarian. And they said, okay, now we're going to show you what this is. We're having a class because we have more people. And we're like, okay, great. So they had this video back when we all had VCRs. So they popped in the video, and it was this enormous display of massive amounts of wealth at the LA Convention Center. I mean, it looked like hundreds of thousands of people parading in these gorgeous robes, and there's all this elaborate gold-related things, and they were doing this display with flags, with, you know, it was just incredible, right? And I was just like, I didn't know what to think about it. I didn't have an opinion either way. I was just like, okay, but I still don't understand what this is. Not one person has ever mentioned God. No one's mentioned spirituality. I still don't understand what the hell's happening, you know. So they get together, they chant in these small groups, and then they get together and chant in a large group. So on the video shows all these people, they did this massive amount of pomp and circumstance and music and synchronized dancing or something, synchronized marching, and then everyone sat down, and then they all Myoho Renge Kyo, right? Again, at the chanting. And they stopped it, and they looked at us and like, what do you think? And I'm just like, I still don't know what the hell's happening. I still don't know what's going on. I don't understand this. And no one has explained it to me. And I've been asking now, this is my second week here. I've been asking my friend, and she won't explain it. She said, we'll understand in time. And no one is explaining a damn thing. So for me, I'm still confused. I still don't know what's happening. I've been chanting. Nothing really major has happened, but it's only been a week. Yeah, maybe it takes time, right? Like everything else. And my boyfriend was also judgmental, again, with that. And he says, so your thing is about an elaborate and massive display of wealth. And why aren't you, instead of taking your money and putting it in this massive convention, why don't you just take the money and feed the poor and the homeless and help the mentally ill get medical insurance? You know, and why can't you fix the evils of the world with the massive amounts of wealth that you're generating? And they're like, well, you just don't understand. And so then a couple of the ladies started whispering in my friend's ear. And she says, Elena, can you come here for me? I'm like, okay, fine. And I went in there, and they pushed me into the kitchen and shut the door, which I didn't know there had been a door there. And they separated me from my husband, my boyfriend. I call him my husband. He was like my common law. We were together like 6.5 years, living together. And so he tried to come in after me, and he's like, I think we're just going to leave, actually. It's time for us to go home now. And he's kind of looking at me, and I'm like, all right. My friend's like, no, you have to stay. And they literally physically pushed him away from me and separated us and then shut the door. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Why can't you let my boyfriend be with me? That doesn't make any sense. And they're like, well, he's being negative, and we don't want negativity. We don't allow negativity in our organization. So we're not going to invite him, but we're inviting you. And we want you to be a part of this because you're going to have money. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm going to have money? They're like, well, that's what you do. You chant for money. I'm like, well, you said you could chant for anything you want. They're like, that's true. You can chant for anything you want, but you need money, so you're going to chant for money. I'm like, all right. They're like, so tomorrow morning, I want you here, and you can go get your Gohonzen. We're going to go down to headquarters. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, we're going to go to LA, to Los Angeles, to the headquarters. We're going to get your Gohonzen. Like, what the hell is a Gohonzen? They're like, well, like they have in the living room. Like, I can't afford that big elaborate gold thing in there. They're like, no, it's a piece of paper. I'm like, we're going to drive to Los Angeles for a piece of paper? And they're like, yeah, it's called a Gohonzen. I'm like, well, what is it? Why do you need it? They're like, well, you can't chant without it. I'm like, well, what do you mean? I could chant fine without it. I've been chanting for a week without it. You told me to chant for the whole week without it. So I've been wasting my time. I was like getting really mad, right? They separated me from my boyfriend. They're trying to force me into the van. They're putting a hood over my head. I'm just kidding. They didn't do those things. But I felt like that was like the next step. Next step, they're going to freaking kidnap me. And God knows what they're going to do with me. I was really kind of freaked out about it. Like, what the hell is actually happening here? And so I said, I don't think I can go, They're like, well, you have to go and you have to bring $100. I'm like, $100 for what? They're like, for the Gohonzen. I'm like, what? They're like, oh, and we're going to need money for gas. I'm like, don't give me the freaking piece of paper. Let me get yours and photocopy it. They're like, oh, no, you can't do that. It has to be like, I don't know, on rice paper or something. I don't know. I mean, it was like special material, and it has to have a red string that goes through it. And then they said it has to have some kind of blessing. And I'm like, I still don't know what the hell a Gohonzen is. I don't know what it means. There's a bunch of writing on it I don't understand. Why do I have to have like a big elaborate thing? They're like, you have to have an altar in your home for your Buddhist practice. I'm like, well, all right. So that was I just finally, at the end, I'm like, you know what? I don't think this is for me. I'm going to go. And then my friend kept calling me until I finally just said, forget it. I'm not going to do this anymore. And then after that, she 100% ignored me. I'd go into her class to teach people in human anatomy, and she acted like I didn't exist. And that was it. Complete cutoff. Forget it. And I didn't reject the people. I didn't even reject their practice. I just said, I don't think it's for me, because nobody is telling me any information. Nobody is giving me 100% of the story here, and you're forcing me to pay money and go to LA randomly without saying, well, if you want to get into this, you have to do it properly, and you need this thing you need to buy. And it was just like, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. And the fact that they separated me from my boyfriend was really, really freaky. So what I'm about to tell you tonight about this, I don't want you to go off and join this organization. But I do recommend you, if you are attracted to this in general, then I recommend you try it. I don't think you have to have a Gohonzen, but maybe you could go find one, maybe you could go buy one somewhere. Order it from eBay. That way they're not going to, shove you in the van, put the hood over your head, separate you from your loved ones. I'm just kidding. That never happened, and they don't do that. But I just felt like that was the logical next step from the way they had been treating me. So I'm going to read directly from sgi.org, which is the website of that organization. And I don't know if it's just the people in Santa Barbara that were weird, that they refused to answer any questions. I don't know if it was just them that were weird, or if it was just me at that time attracting all the people that had the judgmentalness. I mean, I don't know, but I have gotten more recently that energy, Myoho Renge Kyo energy, has come to me. And I did use this energy to start my car. My car stalled right in front of this is like the weirdest karma. My car stalled while I was driving it in the middle of a driveway in front of a school where the bus was going to come in to drive the kids into the school. And my car stalled right there, and I made the kids 30 minutes late. And I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? The only thing I could think of was just a chant. I mean, I'm not a mechanic. I could have popped the hood and looked at my engine, but that would do absolutely nothing. I could ask the engine how it feels today. I mean, my degree ended up being in psychology. But as far as actually fixing a car, I have no idea what was going on. So I just started chanting Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho Renge Kyo. I closed my eyes and I just focused on my car getting fixing itself. And it was like, I don't know, 20 minutes later, I started the car. And the bus driver was screaming and yelling at me, move your car, move your car, move your car. Pop the clutch. I'm like, what the hell's a clutch? What the hell are you talking about? You know, he's slamming punching my car and slapping my window with his hand and screaming at me for 20 freaking minutes while I'm chanting Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho Renge Kyo, Myoho Renge Kyo. Well, my car started and I drove off. I flipped him off because I was like, how could you not see that I'm already in emotional distress that this happened to me, and now you're making it a million times worse, versus like, hey, let me help you move your car so I could get the kids to school, and then I will come back and help you with your car, because that would have been what a normal human being would do. But maybe because I was so judgmental at the time, I attracted a judgmental dick bag. And he just did nothing but yell and scream at me instead of actually trying something constructive like a grown man would do. An adult. He wasn't good at adulting, and well, neither was I, but I was still quite a baby in many respects back then. But so I started looking into it. I still was confused about it, and so I looked this up, and this is what they had to say on Soka Gakkai International. And they say that it is Buddhism in action for peace. Now, on this website, they don't say we chant for money, we chant for cars, we chant for wealth, we chant for houses, we chant for jobs and to get into universities. Nowhere on this website does it say any of those things. So now I'm thinking perhaps it was just that group of people that I happen to attract into my life. Now, people do chant for money, they do chant for wealth, and they do get it. Many, many, many stars are into this. Orlando Bloom, Tina Turner. Tina Turner has some really beautiful videos where she's chanting Myoho Renge Kyo, singing this. Very, very interesting, right? So this is what it says on the website. Nichiren Buddhism is revolutionary. It teaches people that all people are capable of manifesting Buddhahood in this lifetime. Ooh, what is Buddhahood? I think it means being an ascended master or an enlightened being like Buddha. All right. Now it says it's difficult to believe and respect the infinite potentiality of our lives, much less manifest on a consistent basis the sublime life condition of Buddhahood that exists within us all. The Gohonzen is a scroll containing, now check this out, Chinese and Sanskrit characters, and it aids practitioners of Nichiren Buddhism in the process of perceiving and bringing forth the life condition of Buddhahood from within their lives. Oh my God, why didn't they just tell me that all those years ago? Seriously, like 30 years ago, they could have told me this. It is a physical representation of the fundamental law. See, I thought they were worshiping a piece of paper, and they never corrected me when I said, so you're worshiping a piece of paper. And they're like, well, yes, or well, no, but kind of, but, you know, like they wouldn't answer me. So this whole time I thought they were chanting at a piece of paper, and then suddenly something's happening with their karma. See, it's like freeing for me it's liberating for me to like go back and correct my mistake and what I originally thought about this. So the fundamental law that permeates all life is the sublime reality to which Shakyamuni was enlightened. And Shakyamuni's revelation of this law is distilled within the Lotus Sutra. the title of which is rendered in Japanese as Myoho Renge Kyo. And Nam means name, like in the name of. The 13th century Buddhist teacher Nichiren, oh, okay, that's why it's called Nichiren Buddhism, because somebody named Nichiren started it in the 1200s. Okay, so it's not some dude in the 80s that wanted to get wealthy because Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh did. See, I had these things somehow weirdly linked in my mind. Like, okay, a lot of cults cropped up in the 80s and 90s, and a lot of people wanted to get wealthy, and this is what this was. And so I had it all. And by the way, the name of the Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh movie is called Wild, Wild Country. I mentioned the other day and I couldn't think of the name of it. It's Wild, Wild Country. So the mystic law, according to Nichiren, the Buddhist teacher, described within the Lotus Sutra as Myoho Renge Kyo, and represented in a graphic form as the Gohonzen, which was just a way for people to establish a connection with this energy, right? So in one sense, the Gohonzen is a blueprint for the limitless potential of our inner lives. Well, hell's bells, guys, it's a limitless pill, but it's a piece of paper. All right. It's an energetic form, outward form that you connect with to connect with your inner Buddha nature. It mirrors the qualities of our inherent Buddha nature. Yeah, I just said that. Okay. It says, such as wisdom, courage, compassion, and life force. It's not a representation of something that we lack or have to acquire from a source outside of ourselves. Okay. So it's just a mirror to remind us of who we truly are inside. That we are basically God, right? We are 100% spark of that divine, one true, pure energy. Gohonzen literally means in Japanese object of devotion. So now this is Japanese, Chinese, and Sanskrit all in one thing. See, no wonder they were confused. They didn't know. I really think they didn't know. And so there's no way I could have known. So practitioners of Nichiren Buddhism will have an altar in their home and they enshrine the Gohonzen. They have a daily practice consisting of chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and reciting portions of the Lotus Sutra while facing the Gohonzen. This is an act of reaffirming and revering the dignity of their lives, as well as the dignity of all life. When you revere the Buddha nature inherent within yourself, within your life, and what's depicted in the Gohonzen, then you are able to manifest the qualities of Buddhahood. So Nam means devotion, like in the name of. It signifies the intent of summoning or harmonizing with, in the name of. It's like summoning. It expresses a vow to believe in our Buddhahood and take action in alignment with this vow. Now, on either side of the Myoho Renge Kyo are characters that represent the various positive and negative tendencies and energies within life. And all the energies are intrinsic to life and harmonized by the law of Myoho Renge Kyo. It's all revealed in an enlightened aspect and function to create value and happiness. Okay, so this is to create happiness. Makes a lot more sense than just creating money, right? Money's a tool. It could be a tool that brings about happiness, like, a hammer brings about a house. So, all right, now Nichiren inscribed his name below the Myoho Renge Kyo on the Gohonzen, expressing that the state of Buddhahood is not abstract, but manifest in life and behavior of human beings. His use of script rather than a painted image or sculpted object reflects his commitment to the principle that this is a mirror of our inherent Buddha nature. It's universal and it's free of connotations of race and gender inherent in depictions of specific personages. What? See, now it's even getting cooler. The characters of the Gohonzen are arranged in a way as to depict a scene from the Lotus Sutra known as the ceremony in the air, during which Shakyamuni reveals the essence of the Lotus Sutra and trusts his disciples, the bodhisattvas of the earth, which just means disciple, bodhisattva, to uphold and spread his teaching and lead other people to happiness. Concern and effort for the happiness of others are intrinsic to the manifestation of one's Buddha nature. Oh, okay, that's why they're trying to force me in the van and put the hood over my head. I'm just kidding. They never did that. But they kept saying, yeah, we're going to go tomorrow. We're going to go tomorrow. And there really was a white van, but no one shoved anybody and no one pushed me into it. I never went to LA. All right. We're forcing you to be happy, damn it. They didn't tell me that part. They just did not go about it the right way. And I was not understanding anything. See, all this whole thing makes me feel better. Now, don't go join the cult, okay? But I don't see there's any reason why you can't get your own Gohonzen and chant your own, chant by yourself 15 minutes a day, right? So the Gohonzen expresses the concept of the mutual possession of the 10 worlds, also known as the 10 life states in Buddhism, which reveals that Buddhahood exists as a potentiality in any given moment of an individual's life and does not lie outside of one's daily existence or being. So in this way, the Gohonzen represents a state of life in which the inexhaustible power of the mystic law is in full bloom, as well as an ideal world where all people in society are manifesting their strengths and capabilities to the fullest. Well, that's cool. The mystic law has an inexhaustible power. So it just represents a state of life in which everything is 100% coherent, sovereign. Yeah, I like it. This is cool. The key, as Nichiren stressed repeatedly, is to believe that we are perfectly endowed beings, that we can reveal our Buddha nature in our present form at any place or at any time. And Nichiren states, never seek this Gohonzen outside of yourself. That's good words to live by. Inheriting the legacy of Shakyamuni and Nichiren to actualize a world of peace and happiness for all beings, the practice of SGI members is one of striving to reveal their Buddhahood amidst the joys and sorrows of daily life and help other people to do the same. Cool. Don't go with them. They force you into a van and put a hood over your head. Just don't do that. All right. So I'm going to look up the 10 worlds that this person speaks of. Yeah, Orlando Bloom says this has brought him a great deal of internal peace and happiness. He didn't need to chant for money. He'd already done Pirates of the Caribbean many times. So for people that already have it all, maybe they don't have it all inside together, and this helps people come, into a state of peace and happiness. So the principle of the 10 worlds forms the foundation of the Buddhist view of life. The worlds are in ascending order of the degree of free will, compassion, and happiness that one feels. Okay, so the bottom world is hell. The second one is hungry spirits. It has nothing to do with hungry hippos. Getting that out of my head. Okay, number 3 is animals. So it goes hell, hungry spirits, animals. And then number 4 is asuras. I don't know what that means. And 5 is human beings. Oh, good. Well, we're the very bare minimum. We're there. 6 is heavenly beings. 7 is voice hearers. Does that mean schizophrenics or people that hear the voice of God? Maybe the people hear the voice of God. 8, cause awakened ones. 9, bodhisattvas. And 10, the Buddhas, which would probably be the ascended light masters, is what I've been calling them. So the cause awakened ones, maybe that's where we're all at, between humans and bodhisattvas, possibly, right? If we were on this list. So it says, at one time in ancient India, it was thought that these were distinct, separate, and fixed realms into which beings were born in accordance with the good or the evil that they had performed in past lifetimes. It was thought that they endlessly repeated the cycle of birth and death, confined to one of the first 6 worlds, from the world of hell to heavenly beings, also known as the Six Paths. Buddhism developed in this context as a practice offering the possibility of transcending and freeing oneself from the Six Paths. Among the teachings of Buddhism, the Lotus Sutra further revolutionized this paradigm, teaching that the 10 worlds are 10 states of life equally inherent within each living being at the moment. So that's very, very interesting. So from hell to Buddhahood, basically. Oh, here, I found it down here. The world of voice hearers is the life state attained by those who gain a partial awakening through hearing the Buddha's teachings, while the world of cause awakened ones refer to the life state attained by those who gain a partial awakening through own observations and effort. And both of these life states are characterized by the awareness of the principle of cause and effect and truth, and that nothing in life is permanent. And so this is the basis of the realization that attachment to various things is a source of suffering, and to do away with attachment leads to the state of liberation. So very cool. It goes on to say bodhisattvas, they're striving to attain the enlightenment of the Buddha, and they are compassionate and altruistic. They have empathy for pain and sorrow of others, and a desire to help relieve them of suffering and to find joy. So that's pretty much describes empaths and light workers, right? And then Buddhahood is the highest point of mystic law. This means awakened one. So you harness unique strengths and create good within yourself and the environment, and you live as a living manifestation of the mystical law, or mystic law. Mystic law, that sounds like so cool. It says it gives that this Buddhahood is a life state of ultimate hope and fulfillment. So pretty cool. I want to see if I could find Asura. And Asuras, those were contentious demons according to Indian mythology. It is a life state of anger. All right, so, and that's below. And also perversity. Okay. So concealing your true feelings to ingratiate yourself with others. That's the perversity they're talking about. So hungry spirits, it's a life state of just being hungry and insatiable cravings. And completely lacking in freedom is hell. So in animals is a state of being foolish in the sense of being moved by your impulses. Oh, the people that send me pictures of their penises because that's all they could think with. They're at that level, I guess. It concerned only with immediate benefit and gratification. Yes, okay, that's what that is. So in this condition, the ability to make moral and ethical judgments is lacking. Yeah, exactly. Because the world of hell, hungry spirits, and animals are all representative of conditions of suffering. They're known as the 3 evil paths. Very interesting. And then above that, you have the demons, and then above that, human beings. Well, at least we're above that. So now in Buddhism, the world of the heavenly beings, it's a life state of heaven, regarded as a condition of joy and rapture that is experienced when your desires are filled. It's not a lasting joy. It does fade and disappear at the passage of time and as your situations will change. Very interesting. So voice hearers cause awakened ones. And bodhisattva, when you're almost there, when you have empathy for others, and Buddhahood is ultimate enlightenment. This is interesting stuff, man. I found a lady, her name is Margaret Blaine. She looks like, most people's grandmothers. She's an older lady. She just looks like a normal person, you probably wouldn't know what to look at her, but she is a absolutely very 100% dedicated as a Buddhist. And her website is margaretblaine.com, and I found some of her stuff very interesting. She's also Margaret Blaine on YouTube. And she explained this. I watched a couple of videos, and that's why I decided to do the show, because she convinced me that this isn't a crazy evil cult. It's not. They couldn't tell me they weren't, and that's what was so freaky about it. That why couldn't they just be honest and say, we're not an evil cult? But they were acting like a cult. And maybe it's just that there's fanatics in every religion and every practice, regardless of the original nature of the religion or the practice or whatever. There's always going to be the weird fanatics, right? Of anything and everything. You know, and so that's what happened. But my friend who wrote me the other day and said that she had, my new friend, who's been writing me once in a while, she told me that she left the organization but continues with the practice because the practice has brought her a great deal of peace and has helped her in her life. I do believe it has a high vibration, and I do believe it can help you in your life. Myoho Renge Kyo, I think, can be an amazing chant. And that's the chance you got to take. That it will be, and it will help your life. So, but she said when she left the organization, nobody bothered to follow up with her, call her, ask her how she's doing. And all the people she thought that had been her friends are no longer speaking to her. And that also sounds very much like a cult to me. And I don't think that's right, you know. But I mean, I was taught as a Catholic when I was a little girl that if you're a Catholic and your friend's a Catholic and your friend stops being a Catholic, you can no longer be friends with your friend because you're not going to know them forever anymore because you're not going to meet them in heaven. Because Catholics only go to heaven and no one else. That's what I was taught. It's a pretty crappy thing to say to a kid, right? Sorry, your Jewish friend, you're not going to know them in heaven. You might as well ignore them now. What? You mean, wait a minute, who else is Jewish in the Catholic religion? Let me think really hard on, is it Jesus? So only Catholics, of which one Jesus was not, go to heaven. And what? Hey, wait, what now? Jesus wasn't a Christian, and I've heard Christians tell me only Christians are going to heaven. Damn. Not going to get to meet Jesus after all, since he was a Jew. Oh my God. Anyway, but I was taught that if you're Catholic, you're going to heaven. If you're not Catholic, you're not going to heaven, period. Crazy stuff, right? So if you're friends with someone and they're no longer Catholic, you can't be friends with them. And that's weird that this happened to my friend through in this organization, sgi.org. And they have, I mean, if you wanted to go and see it and check it out, you could. I don't really recommend it because of the way that people treat you when you leave, right? And the way that people force you into it. And I think they ask for money when you're there. And I think that they force you to bring your friends, and when your friends don't agree, they separate you from your friends and tell you to leave your friends. See, all of those things to me smack of cult. So the practice itself, I mean, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And the president, Ikeda, I think, Ikeda, he has a lot of proposals about how to bring about world peace. You know, and he spends a lot of his time thinking about higher-minded, loftier goals, such as bringing peace on Earth, ending suffering on Earth. Now, Margaret Blaine, at margaretblaine.com, I read one of her articles, and she was saying that you can never really chant for somebody else's happiness, but what you can do is chant that their situation changes. But when you start chanting for somebody else, you now entangle your own karma with theirs, basically. So just chant that the situation changes for them. That's easier than chanting for them to change. You can't change anybody else, but if someone's in a bad way, you could chant for them. You know, for me, I send them Reiki and I pray for them and I give them I do Ho'oponopono. The I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. The 4 phrases that come out of Hawaii, basically the shamans, the kahunas in Hawaii, teach that one. But anyway, I'm glad I got to know a little bit more about this. I don't feel as completely freaked out as I did before. I'm going to see, it said Myoho Renge Kyo, is a related article. I want to see if they have what that actually means. Hopefully it does. I just went to that page. Okay, yeah, it does. Here we go. Nam means, namas means to devote or dedicate oneself. Myo, M-Y-O, can translate as mystic or wonderful. Ho, like Myoho, Ho means law, mystic law. The law is called mystic because it's difficult to comprehend. It's difficult because it's the wonder of ordinary people to be set by delusion and suffering, awakening to the fundamental law in their lives, realizing that they are inherently Buddhas inside. They are able to solve their own problems and those of others. So Nam, Myo, Ho is that. And then Renge, R-E-N-G-E, it looks like Renge, but Renge means a lotus blossom. The lotus flower is pure and fragrant, unsullied by the muddy water in which it grows. Similarly, the beauty and dignity of our humanity is brought forth amidst the sufferings of daily reality. Now further, unlike other plants, the lotus puts forth flowers and fruit at the same time. This illustrates the principle of the simultaneity of cause and effect. We do not have to wait to become someone perfect in the future. We can bring about and bring forth the power of the mystic law from within our lives at any time. Kyo literally means sutra, and here indicates the mystic law likened to a lotus flower, the fundamental law that permeates life and the universe, the eternal truth. So to chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, is an act of faith in the mystic law and in the magnitude of life's inherent possibilities. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is not a mystical phrase that brings forth supernatural power, nor is it an entity transcending ourselves that we rely upon. It is the principle that those who live normal lives and make consistent efforts will duly triumph. Very cool, right? And Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is what's written on the piece of paper called the Gohonzen. So there it is. All right, so I feel a lot better about it now, don't you? Again, I don't really want to go to the thing, although I want to go get it. I want to go get a Gohonzen now. I'll be honest. You could go to this sgi.org. They have a page called resources, and it will tell you, let's see, if you go to the study materials, I think that's where I found it. They have Buddhism, SGI history. November 18th was the founding day of Soka Gakkai. World Peace Day is coming up on October 2nd. They have a anti-nuclear movement as a part of this. And someone did actually mention that to me, that they do have an anti-nuclear protest. And I thought, well, that's cool. And I think that's what got me into bringing my boyfriend into it in the first place, you know, because he was interested in going to protest with me. We protested the war back in 1991 when the first Bush made the war in the Middle East, in Iraq. And I protested the second war in Iraq. I protested a lot of stuff in my life, and I thought, oh, that'd be cool. Let's go protest, you know, at nuclear bases and whatever, you know, why not? You know, stand up for what we believe in. So, let's see here. They do somewhere on this website, it did see where they have what you can, where you can go if you want to practice in, you know, groups or whatever, basically. Very interesting stuff, though. I mean, I even found out they have a group here in Ecuador, and they have groups in 192 countries. That this is spread far and wide, this practice of Buddhism. Interesting stuff. Okay, I feel a lot better about it now, though. I don't feel like it's a cult anymore, but the way that I was treated, though, like all those years ago, and I feel like if you're trying to get someone into your religion or your cult, I mean, not your cult, but you know what I mean, if you're trying to get someone involved in the thing you're doing, don't make it cult-like. Don't separate people from other people. Don't put a hood over the head and shove them in the right van, okay? Shoving people in the white van, that just smacks a cult. It does. I'm just kidding. No one ever did that again. Just no one did that. Anyway, well, I'm getting the warning sign, the heads up sign. It's making the noise. I don't know if you guys could hear it. I stopped it, and then hopefully the noise itself stopped. Anyway, well, I hope you enjoyed this episode, learning about something new, if it's new for you, and if it's not. If you do chant, I would like to hear from you. I'd like to hear what changes have been made in your life when you've done this. You know, MargaretBlaine.com, she's pretty interesting lady. She's putting out videos every week. So, in SGI.org. So that is Nichiren Buddhism in a nutshell. That's what I've been able to look at and find online about it. You could do your own research if you want to further investigate this for yourself. Otherwise, you could just start chanting today. Why not? Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Myoho Renge Kyo. I can never do it faster than that. All right, well, that's all I got to say about that. Please don't forget, send in your ghost stories and your Santa Claus stories for some special episodes I have planned coming up in October and in December. And that's it. I'm done tonight. I'm signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, peace. Namyo Renge Kyo, 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 Namyo Renge Kyo. Do you ever wish you could look into the next chapter in your book of life and see what's coming next? What does the universe have in store for you? I can help you with that. I will give you a Celtic cross reading, which is 10 cards, or you can ask me 3 questions, and I use 3 cards per question. So that's 9 cards, or I can channel your higher guidance, or maybe God directly for you. Maybe you want to talk to your dear departed Aunt Edna, because maybe you have a few questions and she was the smartest person you knew. If your deceased relatives are available, or your ascended masters, I can channel them for you personally. Let me have 1 hour to show you the future in your next chapter of your book of life. Readings are $75, and it takes me an hour to an hour and a half to complete. And for this price, you will also be hooked up to the healing grid around the planet for free, which means yours truly, me, I will be giving you Reiki 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life. All you have to do is let me know. metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com, and we will explore your future together.